That's great. So is this trip to the Netherlands for a year? I assume this was planned way before that giant stream and whatnot. Is this have to do with your streaming career, or is it just like an extended vacation and you'll stream during it?
No, for me, it was back in about 2012. I was climbing a mountain with a mate, and I said, hey, I wouldn't mind doing this around the world. And I started looking up people that had climbed the highest peak of every country of the world. And there was a guy that climbed at every highest peak of Europe for each country. He planned to do it in 6 months, and a war broke out in Kosovo. He got held up for 2 years. So the record stands at like 836 days at the moment. I'm like, I'll do it in a year. Sweet. And then when I quit the army, I actually I started streaming as a bit of a hobby to make friends. And then it all blew up. And so like, how do I incorporate streaming whilst traveling around Europe? Now, the mountain size, unfortunately, I'll be lucky to get 20 mountains done whilst I'm in Europe. But I still want to climb some peaks and have some fun while I'm over here. The record's no longer a major thing for me. It's more about just enjoying life, because obviously things change after nearly most of a decade.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about that transition from the army to streaming. And I guess in the military there's like an exit interview where the guy's like, all right, so where are you going from here? What are your plans outside the armed forces? And you're like, well, I'm going to stream some video games on my PC. And I'm going to play a lot. I'm going to play a lot of video games. And he's like, I'll see you in a year.
Yeah. So
nice luck to you. Yeah.
Spoke about this before. So it was close. So pretty much the way it worked was you do a few exit interviews, and it's their responsibility to make sure you have a plan to get out. And I said that I've been in the army 8 years. I've done a lot of random shit, and I want to just become a human again, because you surround yourself with the same people, same type of people for such a long period of time. Quitting something like that, you're institutionalized. So your thought patterns are always that kind of way. And so for me, it was like, I'm going to get out, I'm going to go fishing and play computer games. And so my wife got a job out in the middle of nowhere in the country, right in this little coastal village or town. There's about 3,000 people. And we signed up for the local lawn bowls team, which is like kind of like bocce on grass. And that was with like senior citizens. Everyone was retired. And it was just us that like...
So you were just dominating.
No, they're awesome at it. They're absolutely awesome at it. And I went fishing. But the best thing about it is the old fellas, they know all the fishing spots. They know how to catch the fish. So you make friends with them. They tell you how to catch the fish. And when I went fishing, it became a lot easier.
Maybe you did better in the rugby league.
I actually don't follow rugby at all. No. I'm from the southern states, so it's AFL here, Australian rules football. But yeah, so when I had the exit strategy with me, and they were like, what do you mean you're not going to get a job? And I'm like, I've got a couple of $1,000 saved. My wife's got a job. I have no plans to go work. I'm just going to enjoy life for a bit because you guys are taking so much from me. And he just looked at me and was like, you'll be back in 3 months. I'm like, bet you I won't be. And so...
Are there parts of the military that you miss though? Like what I always hear is that the camaraderie and sort of the fact that every day is kind of planned out to some degree. It's like, oh, I know what I'm doing at noon. I know what I'm doing
like prison.
When I wake up. Like prison. Yeah, it could be very comforting.
Job security is definitely probably the biggest perk that you always miss, because it's freaking hard to get fired from the army unless you get like done for drugs. And even then, like, there's probably ways around it. I know there's some people that got away with
more drugs for you, all right? This is the 8th time.
They do have a zero tolerance for it, but like it's interesting how it works. But honestly, for me, the main thing I miss is pretty much just the mates. But even then, the thing is, in Australia, when you sign up, it's not compulsory to join the military. But when you sign up, you go on a contract. And for me, it was 4 years, and I think it still is for infantry. And what happens around that 4-year mark is most people get out, or they transition into a different position or role, and that. So at the 4-year mark, all your mates kind of just go everywhere. And if you're still in, most of them get out. If you're still in, you kind of lose a lot of your mates. I actually studied Indonesian and lived over in Indonesia for a bit with work. When I came back to Australia, most of my mates were gone. So for me, I was like this older guy, and I signed up full time at 21. So by this stage, I was already like late 20s, like, you know. So most of the guys were all 17 to 21, wanting to get drunk and have as much sex as possible. And there's me
Nice.
Good
Yeah.
strategy.
senior citizen, like, I'm just going to go to the gym and stay healthy.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm gonna go play bocce with old fucks.
yeah.
Did you say you were in the infantry or?
Yeah, I
mentioned
was.
it?
So
Yeah.
I didn't do any time Middle East. It's the first question that comes up, so it's the easiest way just to say it straight up. But I spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, probably about 2 years, in Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, and Indonesia. Yeah,
Where was the most fun place that you were deployed?
Indonesia was definitely fun. My first trip over there, I've got so many stories. The first trip over there was when I was studying in Melbourne, and we had a task, like a little project. This is with the School of Languages. They sent us over there, and we had to walk up to random people in the street and just like interview them. But we walked up to this military guy and we started talking to him, and he's like, "Oh, come do karaoke tonight. Come do karaoke." And me and my mate, we're like pretty extroverted kind of people with that kind of thing. Like we don't give a fuck if someone sees us sing. It's like, yeah, sure, we'll go do karaoke. So we asked we did like afternoon like orders or meetings in the afternoon. And we're like, oh, we're going to go do karaoke with these army guys. Anyone interested coming? Everyone's like, nah. And then we got picked up by this guy. He had like police lights on his car. It was like a pimped out, like Humvee looking thing. He takes us to this like exclusive karaoke bar. And it's just like, as soon as like we're walking there, I'm like, oh, fuck. We're in for it now. And it was like alcohol bottles over all the walls. And it was just like, and okay, so 86% of the population of Indonesia are Muslim, and most people don't drink alcohol. And we were in like a party kind of city, and so instantly like alarm bells got off. Like, holy shit, we're in an interesting place here. And we walk down this hallway, me and my mate, and this Indonesian guy puts his like arms around us, and he's like, "Tonight's on me." And that's all he said. His English was hopeless, but we spoke a bit of Indonesian. Walk around this corner, and there's like two massive couches of the most glammed up, beautiful Indonesian girls. And like,
Nice.
I was like engaged at the time, like with my current wife. I'm like, oh fuck. And he's like, you got to pick one. You got to pick one. I'm like, oh, I'll pick one later. And yeah, and long story short, the night was pretty fucking crazy, but pretty much I knew what to expect from that point with Indonesia and working with the military over there. Because every time I went over on a translating gig, I can't really get in shit for this anymore now. So pretty much the first thing, because I used to go over there with officers, and then I'd just be the translator. And then the first thing that the military wanted to do was take us to karaoke bars. And the officers were like, yeah, it's cool to do that. And I knew exactly what they were getting themselves into every night. And I just sit back and just enjoy the show.
It sounds like what they were getting into was alcohol and prostitutes.
Yeah.
These are a few of my favorite things.
That's really nice of Indonesian, I guess, officers or whoever the fuck to do that.
They paid for the night too, and it wasn't cheap. I can tell you that, because the future nights I had to pay for with the other guys. So,
did you ever end up picking a gal?
No, not
into
me.
it.
No,
just to have her sit next to you. So
you just go in the room and you're like, all right, we're gonna
even
sit
if
here,
I was
play a bit of backgammon.
I don't know. Everyone's got a taste in women, but I'm not really attracted to Asian women at all. So for me, it was just nah.
Not a fan.
Nah.
Hey, to each their own.
So you mentioned that you never did serve in the Middle East. Is that a regret, or is that I'm glad I didn't go over there because I've seen what can happen?
Every single person that works in the infantry and doesn't deploy will pretty much think the exact same as me, as the people I've spoken to. You imagine like training up for this job all the time. Every single day you go to work, you're working on your fitness, you go on exercises to like get your skills up, and you never deploy. It's like getting blue balled so fucking hard. But at the same time, you understand that like you probably could have literally dodged a bullet by doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like you really, really, really want to do it, and it's all about luck. There is no merit-based deployments in infantry. It's, hey, we're sending I was in 7 area, they're sending the 7th Battalion, Charlie Company. And if I was in Bravo Company, I missed the trip. And that happened pretty much every time.
Yeah. It's like that question from Kill Bill, like, which are you feeling right now? Regret or relief?
Yeah.
And I guess it's kind of a mixture, especially you're a family man, it's a lot. It's not just your chips on the table if you go over there, but at the same time, I definitely understand what you're saying. Like, how many years were you in?
8.
8. Yeah. And right in the heart of like throughout the whole when things in the Middle East were really going?
So
Going
yeah,
strong.
the first 3 years, we didn't get a deployment, and like my battalion, and they were like the hectic years, and then everything started. So the year I got to my battalion, the year, right before I got there was when everyone just came back, and that was like a crazy trip. That people were going to have issues from that trip. Like from what I can.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to do any like joint exercises with other countries' militaries?
Mostly Southeast Asian countries. I did meet a lot of Americans, but never really worked with them on
Yeah.
exercise.
I guess what I was going to ask is like, if that were the case, did you ever meet like oh, those guys from Mexico, they're the most hardcore guys in the world. Nobody knows it, but those guys train in a completely different way. Is there anything like that where like you met some guys from a foreign country and you're like, what? That's what you do? That's your training?
There's definitely different mentalities of command through different militaries. So the Australian Army is kind of like, we'll leave all the we'll give out the orders, and then the NCOs, like the non-commissioned officers, will do most of the thinking past there. Whereas a lot of the Southeast Asians have kind of got the mentality of, only the officers can make a decision. So then they'll be like, all right, we're going that way. And the soldiers will just keep going that way until they're told otherwise. So it works well in 2 different ways and bad in others. So it's like, they definitely have direction. They know where they're going, but they're probably going to get slaughtered in the process. And it's very predictable.
We have been swimming for 3 days now.
But the same thing of that, they understand what they need to do. So it works really well for them with that. But it's very easy to counter. So, but every military has its flaws. I'm not here to do military strategy, but
not
I love
American military. Ours is great and not overpriced at all.
I love wargaming, that kind of stuff. I used to be when I was in the army, I used to like sit down with a couple other guys, like, how would I fuck over my own battalion? Like stuff like that. Like if I was to fight this, because it's actually a good way of thinking if you ever want to actually become a good soldier. And good at anything in life, really.
Think about how to sabotage from the inside. Yeah. That's how I treat my day to day. How can I sabotage this relationship? How can I sabotage the success of this client? It's just, how can I sabotage myself by eating after midnight? All sorts of things. That's the toughest one to overcome. This is the not eating after 10 p.m.
Everything's so delicious over in Europe. I've had so much fucking bad food.
I'd imagine food's really good in Australia too.
You can smoke as much dope as you want here.
Yeah,
you can only carry 5 grams, but you can smoke it and then go back in and get more.
Yeah, 5 grams will get you 2 months here.
Yeah,
hypothetically.
No, literally.
Pestily, are you shifting all your